Here.
Gonzalez,
Present.
Jansky.
Yes.
Alanis,
Here.
Almond.
Here. Okay, we are going to be very specific today, talking about the enterprise fund and the Air Force fund. Is there anybody who would like to do public expression of anything not on the agenda? Okay, we're going to have public comments in probably in the middle of this. We're not going to have mix and match public comment this. And if your comments are of commentary, that's one thing. If you have a question, that's much more likely to be, you make more likely to be called on during the meeting if you have a question. But if it's a comment, those are for before or after the discussion we're having. All right, so we're going to move on to the first agenda item, and this is to discussion possible action of proposed fiscal year 2026 enterprise budget fund budget. Man, go ahead.
Hi. So in between the packet being sent out to you guys and then and what we have now, I made a few changes due to some errors and everything like that that went in through the actual original enterprise funds. They kind of uploaded from the forecast that we have. And so every time we update the forecast, then we have to place it into the budget, and some items re-errored out. So I had to go back in and fix them. So for Fund 240, or sorry, for Fund 420, the FTE allocations were updated to reflect the movement of staff out of this fund and into general fund. So it comes out of this, out of 4,200 and into general fund. And that is for one parks maintenance worker and, if I'm not mistaken, a maintenance worker one. So Fund 240 also had bulk water sales reduced to 36,000, and capital expenditures were reduced for both the 24-25 fiscal year as its estimated actual and for the budget itself. And that's because the Clean California Act was going through that fund, and so we had to do an adjustment out over the weekend in order to be able to cover it.
Is that miscellaneous, that's at 35,000?
Yes,
On page 72.
page 72. Yes, that's a miscellaneous.
So is that now correct or incorrect?
That's correct.
That's correct. Yes.
So the next step was to, in Fund 510, the wastewater administrative overhead was applied to Department 4100. So we moved all the administration and overhead over to 4100 and removed the revenue sections for each of the departments. So that the old number was landing, and that was landing in 4113 for revenues and administration and overhead is now landing within 4100 so that everyone can see all administration coming out of the 4100 account.
So what is up here on the slide? Do we have a handout for that?
We can get it handout. Yeah. Right now, what's up there on the slide is basically just all the different changes that happen.
I understand that, but we don't, it's not part of the paperwork.
No, it's not part of the paperwork yet. So, and the last was really pesky number that kept on coming up. It was called rent, and not exactly certain why that kept on going up, but we zeroed that out for each of the departments. And it was a very large number that kind of blew out everything. So for whatever reason, it kept popping up. So I finally calculated it out.
Can you show me where that shows up?
It doesn't show up anymore in the current one, but in the old one, it was under 510. Yeah, no, it was an expense.
And it's still on in the water,
It's still in.
But it's at zero, right?
page 111.
It's not zero.
That one got missed, wastewater got removed.
Told you it was pesky. So that 76,000 needs to be removed out. For whatever reason, it just keeps popping back up. The system, or that timber keeps putting it back in.
If all department heads could check, please.
Yeah, at least 100 per human. Another one, yeah.
111.
101. No, not one. Here's 111.
And you guys, sorry, just one other quick, on the 420, since that was, the 4200, since that was discussed. Is the description in here consistent with the intent and the resolution that was passed for the full water sales? Is it
The narrative, I'll look.
the narrative?
For the 420?
Yeah,
What page?
it's on page 71. Recall some grant funding or something that for ADA pathway, was that gonna be paid for out of water sales? Was that part of it?
There was some stuff from the Prop 68 grant.
Yeah.
That spoke to, addressing some of the issues at the carnival grounds bathrooms.
Yeah,
And the ADA pathway connected it.
so yeah, we're kind of drifting back in the general fund, but since it's on that list here. I just want to know if this is consistent with the resolution that was passed.
The narrative I'm seeing on 71 is more about parks. and
Yeah,
recreation.
I don't see anything about bulk water on page
It doesn't look, it's speak to that at all.
That would be on 95. Not actually.
71 is Fund 100. It's general fund was.
Well, the bulk water sales should be in the fund 14.
Yes,
On that,
that way it stays. That way it doesn't get swept in by the count, by the end of year, sweep that happened in the county.
But you just said it's on page, the revenue's on page 72.
on 95, the narrative's for the landfill. 72, I think that's the narrative for actually parks and recreation.
Yeah, 95 is where we're looking.
95. Well, that's, yeah, water sales too. So that's 95 are fine there. Not about the water.
No.
Right. Okay. But, so that should be under 420. That's where the bulk water sales should go and shouldn't. So that's.
Yeah, that's the
It should, it should go on, under page 96. And it should be updated. Okay.
It is, Mr. Well, water sales 36,000.
Under revenue.
Not
96.
Not 3,500.
Not 35, sorry.
So that needs to go.
35 was, okay.
Can I just ask a question? Just a
Yes, sure.
quick one. So when I'm looking at these, in this current handout,
Yep.
one for today, I see Fund 420. But I don't see Fund 420 in, it wasn't in the special meeting last week. Fund 420 wasn't included. I don't have it in other ones. Oh, this is an old one. This was proposed 24/5, but
It wasn't in the old one, it wasn't ready.
so
It wasn't the one that was handed out last week, right here. Yeah.
what page is that?
Well,
Didn't have a page number.
they didn't have page numbers on it. It's on 96.
It was here in this one you're talking about? It's a separate
Yeah.
sheet.
It's 96. Well, it's under 420, Fund 420.
Let's see, I don't see it here. I see 240. 240. See, this one from last week, August 20th, yeah.
Last week didn't have it.
Last
One for
week
this.
didn't have it.
No, that last week didn't have it. This week does.
Okay.
It seems to have it on page 65.
65 sounds like it's more, that's more, is that Fund 100?
42.
Fund 100, 4,200?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, no, we're looking at 420, 4,200.
420 is just a revenue,
Yeah, it's the fund itself.
4,200 is the parks and rec.
Services, facilities, parks and rec.
Yeah, but the 4,200 is the department,
The department, this is a fund.
420 is the actual fund itself.
Yes.
The reason why it's in its own fund is so that the money is protected. So when bulk water sales occur, they go into that fund, and then every year there's always a sweep from your revenues and expenses. It sweeps up into its fund balance. If it happens in the fund, in the general fund, it sweeps up into the general fund balance and it gets lost. And we have to constantly put it back in. But in order for us to be able to keep and grow this particular fund, we want to be able to have the money be able to be swept into the fund 420 and stay within that fund.
One other quick question.
Okay.
Manny, so there's 4 bullets here. For each of these bullets, I'll start with the first one. FTE allocations were updated. So can you give a dollar amount that reflects the change? Like how much extra is charged to Fund 420 by increasing the FTE allocation? How much was
420 is zeroed out.
it what?
It's zeroed out. 420.
Well,
allocation.
what
So
was
that
it?
way there's no actual physical FTE in the position any longer. So it's not drawing down on the bulk water sales.
No, I'm talking the first bullet.
First bullet is Fund 420 FTEs being zeroed out and moving over to general fund.
But when you say zeroed out, what's the amount?
What's the amount?
Oh,
The amount is
That's 1.22.
that was last
Yeah.
year. Yes,
95,000.
Fully loaded.
Fully loaded. That's the park maintenance worker and a 22% maintenance worker.
That we're not supposed to be in.
That we're not supposed to be in. And moved over to the general.
so how much was saved with the second bullet? The water sales reduced 36 and the capital expenditures
So they
reduced.
moved from 80,000 to 36,000, because that was a little too
Okay.
much of a pie in the sky item.
Uh-huh.
And then what the other savings was moving 176,000 out. And so 176,000 out was overblowing the budget, and so we brought it down to about 36,000 for expenses. And then whatever saves gets into the fund balance again.
Okay, so the 80,000 was the original water sales budget.
I mean, we're gonna move on, Sherry. So,
Okay,
I mean,
okay. It's hard to know.
can you write it down? Can you write down your question?
Okay.
Okay, yeah, and then,
All right, move on, please, Penny.
all right.
Sherry, I understand your concern and you're
Yeah.
going through it with the microscope. I understand. We have 100 pages to go through.
Okay, I'll stop.
Okay, so write it down. Thank you. Okay, go.
Okay, Fund 530, the budget narrative has airport language in it, has been changed. My concern is that this might actually be, yeah, page 107. So the narrative was updated. 530, Department 4100 mandated cost reimbursements was adjusted, and that actually housed the charges for services. For whatever reason, it just bumped up, so we put it back into charges for services. And that's just 3,250,000. And that's the normal where it would be landing anyway. As for administration and overhead, we moved it out of Department 4131 and placed it into 4100, so that way all administration is under one one department, which is 4100. And then after that, departmental supplies and the operations was moved to chemical lab supplies. Department supplies were moved and zeroed out. So now it's at 150.
And this, the staple version, this has all the changes already done.
Yeah, except for apparently that rent thing came back up, so I'm gonna have to adjust
Okay,
that
but
back.
besides that, the
Yeah.
one we're using,
Yeah.
and you're explaining why this is the more accurate one.
Yes,
And that's the other one. Check.
In Fund 550, the narrative was duplicated, and so the budget wasn't included for whatever reason. So we adjusted that, put it back in. So the actual budget's in there. And it still has the FTEs associated to it for 0.6 FTEs that include assistant city manager, community development director, building maintenance worker, administrative specialist, with operating expenses that's 46,000 and other expenses at 14. That was yes, yeah.
Do it on this as 0.95 FTE.
Still have that on there.
Airport for this. 8116.
Yeah.
I mean, it's on.
Okay.
Maybe somewhere else.
That reduction. I think those were an add-in that were taken back out. So the next is a totaling of all the wastewater fund. So you see the revenues, salaries, benefits, operating expenses and other expenses, including all transfers. Occurring. One of the biggest points about this one is the 3.7 million in transfers that are going out. That is due to the Siserco project,
What, the solar panel?
the solar panel project, yes.
Where's that? Say that again.
That's in transfers, 3.7 million. Next is. You ready?
So. Why isn't the wastewater showing? The other revenue?
The other revenue? Oh, this one? Subject to receiving,
Yeah, I understand,
yeah,
but
that's its own project. Its own item, so it's. That particular department is specifically for receiving wastewater.
no, but why aren't you showing the other revenue that comes to the wastewater?
Wastewater comes over here on the overhead side. That's the revenue for all of the property taxes that we get.
And that includes what the trust base do?
Yes, that includes what purchase.
Suspect the community like to see Brookfield. Fine.
So Manny, I just need some help here. So the transfer, 3721,324.
Mhm.
Goes towards the solar project,
Yes,
right?
goes through the solar project, yes.
Okay, and then the bottom line on the bottom right is we're in the negative 3.457 million.
Yeah, we're using more fund balance. So we'll be using fund balance outside of that. And so that's where we'll start digging into the wastewater enterprise fund balance, which has working capital right now currently. And that includes all accruals. So it shows a 4.3 at the moment, 4.3 million balance.
And
Is
is
that
the,
7/1 or is that, what's the date?
7/1/2025.
As opposed to the 3.552 we were just out last week?
Yes, because we're actively in our period of availability, so we're doing our accruals at the moment. So as the auditors are coming over and they're doing their audit, we're also updating and getting ready for the next audit. We're hoping to do it back to back.
so the transfer, 3721324, that's a one-time expense.
That's a one time. Yes, that's for the project and it's only one time.
Okay,
It'll be using up fund balance.
But that project is already had a down payment of in excess of $1 million.
Yes,
That doesn't show the revenue or the recovery of the 1.8.
it won't show the recovery of the 1.8 yet, because we don't know when we're gonna actually get that. Yeah,
That's the one from the IRS.
that's the one from the IRS. Yeah. So we expect to have it sometime at the end of this calendar year. And then we gotta figure out exactly how we are going to get it out of the IRS, which I believe is a special program, because we're not a revenue. We don't pay taxes as a municipality. So we have to go through a special means in order to be able to get it.
So I'm looking into that, said that it comes from the federal, Inflation Reduction Act.
That is correct.
And, that I'm still looking for some, I talked to the people. And, I'm still waiting for some paper backup that says that we're gonna get that. They're claiming that the new bill that was passed this year allows for those be collected, but I'd like to see it in writing.
Yeah.
And like, talk to the.
I've heard the same assurances, and I still haven't seen it in writing either.
Yeah, well, I was gonna bring it up at tomorrow's meeting tonight, if you need to get that formalized, and some real finite insurance, because everything you read in the paper says that Trump nixed all that money.
Yeah. The idea behind it is they set it in appropriations and have already distributed to the agency that's gonna hold on to it.
I know, but that's just verbiage.
Yeah,
That's just verbiage. And, when I gave, is the guy I talked to, gave something that was with that. With the company, we have that contract with.
Go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm concerned about that.
So that's not a guarantee you're saying.
Well, he's trying to portray it that it is, and I want to believe him, but I just want to see the verbiage in the act that says that, number one, the mean net energy metering 2 thing expired in April 15th of 24.
But we got in before it expired.
And the project was not, contract wasn't signed till June 30th of 24. And there was some letter of intent to go forward with the project that was signed prior to that. So he was saying that because we have that letter on file that said we filed from before the date that it extends that net energy metering to include our project. I'm just trying to get paper backup of that stuff, because on the face of it, it appears that the whole contract was run out of that net energy metering had been canceled before our project contract was signed. There's no doubt about that. It was. It's just whether you get to claim it because you started it. And it looked that we had something on file prior to that meeting. I think that needs to be, that, and then the Inflation Reduction Act, actually, that just puts you into net energy metering 2 instead of 3, which is a different reflection.
We can look into that because I believe we applied for it and got approval from PG&E that we qualified for NEM 2. So we'll see if we have something. We should have something on record.
Well, that's what we need.
Yeah.
And then we need the verbiage and in the bill that was passed, appropriation bill, or whatever you call it, that those projects that met those standards are grandfathered in until, this guy said they're grandfathered in if the project's finished by April of 26 or something like that. So I just told him, I want to believe you that we've got $4.5 million on the line, and we need, or I need
insurance.
So Manny, continue on.
Manny, before you do, I just want to kind of refocus here, okay? So the first several slides were about the differences between their previous budget and the one you just gave to everybody, right?
Yes.
Okay, now we've shifted from that, and now we're talking specifically about the wastewater fund.
Yes.
And what you're saying here is that we're 3.45
So,
below, but that's gonna come from the enterprise fund or something.
yeah, so right now the enterprise fund balance is around like, is over $4 million.
Okay,
And with operations and revenues and the transfer out for the size hotel, we're gonna use about 3.457 million of that fund balance. But
Okay.
then that's one-time expense. So from that point forward, it'll start to rise again.
okay, that's, I just wanted, like, why are we looking at this? What is this doing for us?
Yeah,
So that's what you're trying to say.
Yes,
When this is the low point, we're gonna trend that back up, it's gonna go up from here.
yeah.
Gotcha.
As long
Get
as,
some clarity on that fund balance. There was some question about some transfer between water enterprise and wastewater enterprise, $700,000 or something.
Yeah, from the underground project.
From the underground project that was originally just all put towards the water project.
yeah,
And then last week, I don't recall off the top of my head, I think that sewer enterprise fund at 3.5 million was the fund balance.
yeah. And then there was about a $500,000 movement from the airport fund over to the wastewater fund because there was a money received for reconciliation of the property tax. Revenue received.
But the airport enterprise price fund.
It was miscoded.
It went down also.
Yeah,
No, I mean, like not that it went down, it improved.
It improved because there was-
It improved.
yeah,
So I think that needs to just be kind of like listed in a table like this, how that change happened. So that if it goes minus 700 plus 500. And then it goes from 3.5 to 4.5, the math, I just think.
Yeah.
See the.
so math is
So the math makes sense.
actively changing daily because we're doing our reconciliations right now for audit. And so that's why, pretty much day in, day out, it's changing constantly. So at some point in time, that they should chop it off and then I'll show you like the differences between the two.
Yeah, typically we're projecting fund balances in March or
Mhm.
April.
And so we don't have.
We're set, like, so that we can have a budget by June 30th.
Yeah,
So to have them like shifting around in August, almost the end of August doesn't really, it doesn't, I mean, the biggest issue for me is we had a 6-hour meeting about how to deal with a deficit of X amount of dollars, right? And lengthy discussions with a lot of emotions and a lot of serious implications. And a week later, that number's different. So it's just, the productivity level for a meeting is questionable. If you say the numbers are just gonna keep changing. So that's what, and we just got, I mean, like, this is like different, like you said, it's different than what was sent out in the agenda package. I'm just trying to, I'm not trying to be overly critical. I want us to realize the importance of everybody's time when we're trying to work through this and get an actual working budget. That's my biggest sticking point right now on how to address things. I do see, there's one thing in here I saw, like, in the wastewater enterprise fund specifically, because we're here to talk about enterprise funds. Under septic receiving, there's a debt service and interest expense that is identical to this, under 4,100, under the service and facilities occupations. Page 100 is the same. And it's page 106.
100.
425, 356, 469, 128. Back up towards the bottom. Is it just, it shows what jumped out at me is it shows a deficit for the septic receiving of 526, and then on page 100 for the deficit of 1 million, the same numbers, 425, 356, and 469.
Yeah, so that's duplicated.
Okay.
It's carrying over. So I'm gonna take that out. It's only supposed to be on one spot, and I wanted it listed out for 100.
A quick question.
Yeah, quick question.
No, hold on. Matt, quick question.
It seems to me that some of these titles and the ambitions of things are not,
Is that a question?
well, I do not understand how you have under septic, you have 900,000, you have under.
That's just-
And you have salaries, those are not, I mean, the titles of things are very confusing. I don't see where the 3 million, there should be a total revenues and total expenses. And it should come out to that number. And instead, we're getting. I find.
The bottom lines are added. Do you have a question?
Yeah, this white wastewater fund, that's 510, yes?
Yes,
And that negative number, bottom right corner, the 3,457,000.
Mhm.
Where's that money coming from? Where's that, that's a shortage.
yeah, that's a shortage.
So where's,
It's using fund balance
from what fund?
from Fund 510.
But this is Fund
At the
510.
beginning balance.
The beginning fund balance.
It's just a one-year budget.
So, but this doesn't show the beginning fund, okay, it
Yeah.
doesn't show the beginning fund balance.
Thank you.
And it's, by that catching that rod, that actually increases that takes that out and then puts it into there. So that actually makes it 2.5 instead of 3.4.
Mine's more of those.
Yeah.
Okay, moving on, Manny.
I just want to reiterate what Matt was saying, that clarity on this is all the salaries, benefits, that's all should be negative. They should all be in parentheses in there. There should be a subtotal of each, so you can clearly see what total minus the other one is.
So this is money coming in, yeah, these are all.
I totally get what you're saying, I'm just pointing out as a member of the public, it's already organized in a certain way. That's how we're expecting to see it. So this particular one makes it even more confusing because it doesn't. I mean, it took me maybe 10 minutes. I had to pull the calculator to figure out that that's what you were doing because they're not showing me as negative. All of them would be negative. They could be negatives. And then okay. So anyway, just wanted to reiterate here that
I got you.
clarity.
So one more question on this, so maybe I can understand, the 4.26, that's the projected revenue for 25-26.
Yes,
And then so the fund balance from 24-25 isn't reflected on that sheet.
but it is not reflected on the sheet. Same thing.
Will you be able to tell us what the fund balance is?
Yeah, right now it currently stands at about 4.3.
4.3.
Yeah, that's working capital at the moment. But we're also doing
Fly around there'll be zero. You just,
we're getting around to the end of it, but we're hitting up our revenues right now.
it's just likely to be zero as it is to be 600,000. You know what I mean?
Unfortunately, I do. Okay, go ahead.
All right, so here we have revenues and expenses. So the revenues are on the top line, expenses are on the bottom, they subtract from the top. And these are the remaining balances for each of the items. So overhead has $2 million for the remaining rest of the fund to be able to expand. And out of that, distribution is using about 700,000 of it. 900,000 is going into operations and 96,000 is going out of engineering for contracts.
So this number 276,000 here, that's how much the water fund is going up, right?
Yeah,
But that's not necessarily how much we have, because that doesn't include the original amount we had in the previous year.
exactly. Yeah,
And that's what you were asking about too, because that would be
Correct.
in order for your information. If we looks really bad when you see negative 3 million, but it's actually, we're not negative, we actually have fund in front of that, so.
Yeah.
Just something to consider, but I just wanted to make sure I understood that correctly.
And then how much is in that fund that might?
right now it's about 3 million.
And it's gonna go up another 207.
Yeah.
Oh,
And the engineering, and this is for the department head, is, I'm assuming that's consulting.
Consulting.
96,000, that, actually, I caught that, I looked that up, that was from our on-call services for engineering. It was like EVA,
Yeah.
all that, and so that's probably gonna drop significantly, so that number could probably come down.
Yeah, it's so accurate. That fund was created, though, just like sewer engineering was created basically to fund the city engineer back in when 2012, whenever, when
the sewer plant upgrade was started and the water plant upgrade started about the same time. So that's why the fund was created. Seems like it's probably more appropriate to have any professional consulting services in the specific, whether it be under, whether you're doing something for the treatment facility or you're doing something for the collection or distribution system for both funds, so that you know, like the underground project, obviously maintenance, like anything at the plant would be operations.
Clean it up. No,
And then you just wouldn't be confused easily.
So should that 96,000 stay at 96,000?
no,
I think we want to
I
go.
think we had 81,000 spent on last year. 24-25.
Yeah, it's gonna drop.
To the consultant, so that should drop the same. If we do have, a lead service line inventory that is, set to be, we created the spreadsheet for EVA, working with us on that. An unfunded mandate from the State Water Resource Control Board to identify new lead services in our system. And that, with doing that, you're supposed to check every service line at the water line and at the meter and at the customer's house.
And is that done by county or by city employees or by
It's gonna
consultant?
be a combination with EPA.
But some of that might be reimbursable.
Yeah, we're working on a reimbursable we're about $80,000 into it already.
Well, what should that number be? The nice, that was my first question. What should that number be?
It's hard to guess. If we get it. Yeah, I mean,
So we call it 50,000? Is that fair?
you could see, yeah, because we have till 27, so we could not, the end of 20.
There's a good chance we're gonna get most of that reimbursed back. Through a grant again.
All right, I'll change it to 50,000.
So it looks like you're.
Just put it, sorry.
Your revenues don't meet your, or more than your expenses are more than your revenues, and it's 3,700. I add up, you get 3,723. Adding up the overhead distribution and operations, and then you throw in engineering. And you got 3,932, 3.29 income.
No, I think you may be off the digit. It wouldn't be 37. 46,000 to 3 million point two would be 30. We'd only be 3.3.
Right.
It's looking at the bottom, it's a deficit, so that 2 million is not there.
Adding those up,
I'm adding all those up.
you got three
It's a
point,
balance after overhead is.
I don't know how you're coming up with this positive balance.
2 million minus 975 minus 700. So we're at 1.7.
So those are expenses.
There's 2 million is not an expense though.
It's not, it's about, it's a positive. 3,
So that's
Minus.
the 2047.
2047, 860.
Oh, so that one's a balance.
That's a balance.
Then. It's a weird way to do it.
Sorry.
Okay.
And what is that transfer for this $500,000?
The $500,000 is for multiple projects. They are for.
Well, that's good enough. We can cover that, but they're a project with, so they're enterprise capital improvement budget.
Yeah, enterprise capital improvement projects, filter media.
Okay.
One question on, for that, number is if we spent the whole budget to those numbers, correct?
Yes,
And that doesn't happen very often.
that doesn't happen very often.
Okay, just wanted to clarify.
So you always go below budget.
That's the overhead salaries and benefits. That's that FTE, the allocation.
That's the FTE allocation for, yeah,
It's going to change, right?
that's our ask.
That's the consistent with the changes. That's reflected.
That's reflected with the change. We moved it, they were interspliced within distribution and operations, and we moved them up to salaries to expose them so that way we can do our ask.
Is there a reason we're looking at it in this format instead of on in the budget.
Right. So what I'm getting at is that includes,
Total out for you guys.
that includes 0.3, 0.2 accountant, 0.6 administrative specialist, 0.33 city manager, 0.3 finance director, 0.22 city clerk. That's this overhead allocation right here. On
Which
page
one?
107.
Yes.
City manager. Assistant city manager.
So then there's our asks. We would like to have it moved down from 510 and 530 to have the assistant city manager move to 10%, city manager move to 20, finance director move to 20. As for in 550, we want the assistant city manager moved down to 0, community development director to 5, and building maintenance worker to 25. Reduce it even further.
Good job. Questions, Sharon?
Yeah, so move it to 10%,
Decrease it.
20, but from what? What was it originally?
It's here in the list.
On page
It's on page 107.
Page
107, 108.
Those going to change and didn't sneak.
And
Yeah, they haven't been changed.
And so where are those
Directions, they make that change.
Where are those costs now going to be charged to?
They're going to be moving into general fund.
Okay,
So when you say assistant city manager down 10%, fund 530, for example, that 10% FTE would be taken out of the 530 fund and that 10% would then be moved to general.
Yeah, whenever you move into the general fund.
Sure, to give you an idea, in the last several budgets, the city manager's salary, a third of it has been charged to one enterprise fund, a third of it has been sent to actually other enterprise fund. And that's outside the boundaries of the law. Our city manager does not spend 2/3 of his time dealing with enterprise fund. And so, trying to be much more transparent and make it much more logical of what's really truly happening.
so this is not a budget savings.
It is not a budget savings. This is
Okay.
just saying,
Just tell
we're trying to correct
Gotcha,
something that was not correct.
okay, okay,
So the general fund expense will go up.
The general.
You're correct.
it is already in the hole.
You're right, but we were, to be quite honest, possibly misspending out of the enterprise funds for the city manager. And we're just trying to do it, make it
I
right.
hear you.
Is it gonna, it hurts,
Yeah, no, that's.
but it's the way to do it.
Yeah,
I didn't reach out, sorry.
I was just asking me to keep, Mr. Rose, to keep it on this slide so I can get some facts down.
well, while you're doing that, can I ask a quick question?
Well, he's doing it. Quick question.
So in the wastewater enterprise, Manny, you gave us this handout.
Well, you can't ask him a question, 'cause he's the one doing this for us. Right, are you all done? Yes.
Okay, you gave us this last Wednesday.
Mhm.
And the wastewater fund had a beginning balance of about 3.5 million, 3.552. And with that deficit of 3.457, does that mean there'll be about 95,000 left in the wastewater fund?
So as earlier explained, there was a couple of moving parts to that. There was 500,000 that was moving from Fund 550, which was miscoded. And we moved it over into wastewater enterprise. It was a reconciliation of the property tax that was collected for sewer. And so that moved over along with additional accruals for billing out to different places like we do the sewer hand bills. So it's now broken in a couple other places.
So will you be providing an updated,
There's one that's in the agenda right now for for Wednesday. That was
For tomorrow.
For tomorrow.
All
tomorrow?
right, let's continue on.
Okay, so thank you very much. Let me ask, so staff asks, so
Yeah.
would you need direction from us today to say,
Say,
Please do
is it
that.
okay to do that?
okay? I don't know, do we want to hold a consensus question or thoughts?
Another city manager.
we're not gaining any money here, we're just shifting better money and we're accurately looking at the numbers better. I don't see a reason why we shouldn't.
Reducing it to 10 and 20 and 20.
Yeah, 10, 20.
So based off these numbers here, going back to the 16-17 budget, 17-18, and the city manager was 20% in both of those. There was, at that time, no assistant city manager. And finance director, I believe it's 20.
It's a more realistic allocation of what the duties are.
I think it might be low.
What?
But I think it might be lower. I'm trying to.
I know.
Like if you're gonna go to actual cost allocation and reconcile it at the end of the year, you're gonna say, how many hours did you spend as the assistant city manager on the?
We could get down to that level, like
The super
it's more.
Right, that's how other agents, and I think that's what Manny's been talking about doing, right? Like you charge it out at the end of the year. I'd have a hard time seeing 40% spent on enterprise funds for assistant city manager or city manager. Like,
I think it should be lower. I mean, we can get that nailed down better.
Yeah.
So it's a start. It's.
yeah, I don't think it has to happen right now, but I think if it's in future consideration, if you really start looking at it that way, it's probably.
I would suggest over the next 3 years, we take 3 bites of the apple. Because if we overcorrect right now, we're already, as Matt said, it's come out of the general budget.
Yeah.
So let's keep this in the notes for next year and continue correcting this. But a massive correction would hurt us worse than, or we're already bleeding.
Yeah.
We're not down yet, so.
Right.
Oh, just wanted to ask a question, are we in agreement that the staff, we want staff to do this thing? Because he's literally asking us.
If you're asking me, the answer is yes, we want to go weigh in on it.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like that's the right thing to do, get it back where it was.
And you okay with Larry?
Yes.
Okay.
Well, it doesn't quite get it back to where it was. The city clerk went from 0.05 to 0.1. I mean, it doubled the city clerk. It doubled the office assistant 3 in finance from 0.05 to 0.1, so. When you have a couple. So. I mean, I just think it's. We're just kind of. Buckshot or shooting.
We're, everyone's a step forward. So, I mean, this isn't kicking a can, this is trying to fix the can.
Well, I mean, in talking about that, I mean, the airport enterprise funds is $370,000 in the last thing, and that apparently included in this allocation of $500,000 of revenue.
Actually, it didn't include it at that time.
Absolutely.
The money came in between. Oh, wait, no, I'm sorry. I'm mistaken that. Sorry, my bad. You're right, it did include that.
So now we've got the airport enterprise fund. 807, I mean.
Is that right? 800,000?
And we're talking about a net change of 0.05 FTE to the enterprise fund. So we got an $800,000 problem, and we're talking about making a net change of somewhere between 0.05 and 0.15.
And I trust the city manager to make these decisions, so we can.
I'm not gonna.
I get it.
Okay.
I'm not gonna.
I don't think the point was to, in the FTEs is just to make it more accurate. Whether there was a reduction or not, it was just allocating them properly.
100% agree.
But we can, like I said, no, office assistant 3, we can actually remove that then. If we wanted to try and spare this, budget.
Well, let's do one thing at a time. Yes, Mayor, all the sharing. So these asks seem to be okay, and then next year we'll kind of conversation will come right back.
Let's move with these. So,
Okay.
Yeah, but I think the point is, Scott, correct me if I'm wrong, it's like these other positions weren't there in
Correct.
16 and 17.
Yeah.
So we're only addressing the positions that were there in 16, 17. We're not addressing the new positions. Well, I think one thing that's just got to the other, I think we're gonna take bites at the apple. If you want to get to a position where the city can react to emergencies, can react to financial downturns can we responsibly provide services to the community? There needs to be a surplus in the general fund, right? Right now, we're talking about moving things out of the enterprise fund into the general fund. When we talk about the wastewater, we have to protect wastewater because there's the size of the solar project, because so it's balancing the two projects. Right now, if we estimate that there's $5 million in revenue, let's just use 5 million to keep it simple for general fund revenue. Then there's over $5 million in salaries and benefits and deferred unfunded liability for PERS. Not gonna get to the plus side, right? If we estimate that there's approximately $2 million in expenses, operating expenses to provide services to the community. And you want to, in 5 years, get to a point where there's $2 million in surplus in the general fund. Then salaries plus benefits, plus salaries plus benefits, plus unfunded liability needs to be in the $2.5 to $3 million range for the general fund. And that's taking the bite off, but that's starting this year and getting a $400,000 or $500,000 surplus this year to try to get in 5 years to a point where it's has a comfortable approximate 35%.
So right now, that costs us 4.9 million.
So is that,
5.25.
That's not actual, so.
can I ask that a question on that? So is that general fund, or is that total
That's general fund.
4.9 general fund?
It was 4.5 last year.
Is that salary? Okay.
4.5 with the current, with the allocation minus these changes,
Okay.
minus the change, minus, not including the airport enterprise fund expenses,
But actuals were 4.
and not including the deficit.
So 4.5 expenses, salary benefits, unfunded liabilities, and 2.9 million revenue. No one in this room should be surprised that tough decisions are coming forward.
Okay, if we beat that.
Thanks. Well, that's it, end of there. We already kind of went through the airport. So that was our ask. That's going through all of the enterprise funds.
So that, federal grant for the airport, is that the one it's accounts receivable right now?
It's in accounts receivable, like, yes.
Okay.
And it's, we put in for the reimbursement back in August of last year. It happened to be during a time where the particular person that was receiving it was going out to retire. And it sat on his desk and it stayed there at that
With the
point,
FAA,
with the FAA.
and you're talking about the 1.44 or the 144,000.
Yes. So, so we recently called up to, FAA and even Dusty talked to him and sounds like he's, making some headway with us getting paid on that. So.
Okay. So today's meeting specifically is on the enterprise fund of the airport. You've made a presentation, council, questions?
Well, what is the fund balance of your?
Fund balance of the airport is somewhere around like 700,000. 700,000 in the negative so far.
How did you get that? How did it get there?
I think it's these allocations. The allocations of city manager and assistant city manager and everything else. It's those that were placed in
What's
over the last 3 years.
what are the revenues from the payment?
The revenues from the hangar. So the revenues from the hangar are supposed to be a lot higher than what we're seeing right now. So we're seeing about $50,000 coming in from the hangar revenues, which is very low. And it doesn't seem to be representing what it should be, because we have 21 hangars that are actively paying. And I'm not 100% on how much is actually being charged to for each hangar and everything like that, but my understanding is somewhere around like $200 to $300 a month.
For the standard nested T hangers, it's around $200 something a month. It varies by square footage. So the larger hangers, there's a couple private hangers that, the revenue's a little higher on those.
When there are some privately owned hangars there too.
Yeah, there's one that was built about a year and a half ago. That's pretty sizable.
Mike Smith's.
Yes.
Mike Lard built one too, didn't he?
No, not yet.
I thought that.
Reach is in the process of trying to build one as well. That'll be the next project we're looking at, trying to get, green light from the FAA and in process.
I don't mean so 21 hangars at $250 a month.
Yeah, that's just an estimate. I don't know the exact figure off the top of my head.
So that's
But if you get
3,000 a year. I mean, it's not that far off. I mean,
We are trying to renew the ground lease with Reach as well. That's on the packet for tomorrow. We increased that due to CPI, which is in the contract. It hadn't been adjusted in probably 10 years. So that was a deficiency there and corrected that. And we're also going to be obtaining flow fees under the new lease agreement, which will be 25 cents per gallon for the Jet A fuel that the Reach organization brings onto the airport for their aircraft. So that'll help increase revenue slightly, but we haven't collected flow fees ever from them.
So they don't buy our fuel?
No,
They have their own tank?
They run Jet A, we sell that gas.
What page is the airport on?
117.
It's the last one.
116.
So what are our expenses other than our employees for the airport? That's it.
That's it, pretty much.
Fees with
Some utilities.
complaint.
The what?
Have some legal fees with the Part 16 complaint,
Oh, that's right.
but they don't amount to $700,000.
No.
There might have been some projects that were paid for and not really, budgeted for.
So I want to make sure I understand this in very clear terms. The reason that the airport is 700,000 in the hole is because in the past, budgets have said city managers and assistant city managers and so forth were getting a portion of their salary from the airport fund, even though the fund didn't have that money.
Yeah, well, the fund had money about 3 years ago.
So
It slowly started chipping away out, and the person that was responsible for the fund was attempting to get funding from FAA grants and such. I don't know where that's at in the process. Other grants like from Caltrans and a couple of other places.
There's some yearly allocations. We get about 10,000 for maintenance from Caltrans yearly. And typically with the projects in the past, we would have to do a study or something to satisfy the FAA requirements to then pursue the funds under our capital improvement project list. So we kind of got away at some point, I think, from pursuing funded projects. And I think some projects were funded in-house. I can't really speak to that. That's not really the side of the operations that I do.
My
we're
understanding.
never gonna catch up. If we're 700,000 and we're making $30,000 a year in rentals, we're never gonna catch up.
Yeah, the avgas sales don't contribute.
There has to be a point where we can level it out. I mean, the expenses have all been in-house.
Yeah,
We're gonna have to zero that out.
there was a bunch of trees that were taken down in order to be able to cover, to clear out
That makes
the
sense.
way.
But
not only,
that counts for.
but not only counts that. And then there was a fence and a couple other projects.
The table shows minus 238. That's what,
The
that's
table shows,
why I had the question, why it went.
it's still grayed out because we're still pushing it out.
Okay, but
I didn't update.
those, I mean, the general fund has to cover that deficit. It's not like, oh, that, you know.
I get it.
We lost, the airport enterprise fund should have covered the $700,000. But the general fund has to cover that. The general fund has to cover the minus 170, whatever, on RMRA SB 1. Transportation tax is now at 47K. But you can't do paving projects, like can't match an $200,000 Caltrans grant until later in the year essentially. All those have to be figured into this calculation, right? You can't look at the general fund independently and not address the other deficit associated in the budget.
So you're saying that if the enterprise fund is in the hole, the general fund has to cover it, but the general fund is in the hole and the enterprise fund can't cover it.
Yeah, I would look at it like the city has 3 businesses. The water, sewer, airport,
Right?
that the city operates. And as the operator or manager, if you can't keep that solvent, you have to pay for it out of your own pocket, which would be in your general fund, unless you can get some other funding to cover it. That's fine.
I did find what the hangar rents are, if you guys are still interested. There's 21 hangars that are charged at $274.29. There's one hangar that's charged at $379.21. And then we have the land leases. Actually, commercial hangar rent are $779.16. And then there's a ground lease agreement, which those fees were under review at the time of the projection of our fee schedule, so that is not on. We have 3 ground leases.
What about the FBO?
FBO, that
Is
is,
that in one of these? Ignoring which?
Is that Sierra?
Bowen, Sierra.
oh, he's he's hangar 20, isn't he?
He has one T hanger, but he also has the bigger hanger he's talking about.
Okay, so he probably pays the $274.29 for one of the hangars. And then is he under the commercial rent?
Sierra Pacific, yeah.
$779.16.
He's 779. Well, I mean, under the revenue side on the airport budget, it has that grants revenue like it's an annual revenue, and I'm assuming that it's in there for 150, but that is really the 144 that's our account receivable.
Yeah.
And so to look at it, it's not an operating revenue, it's reimbursement. And I'm not sure.
Well, we can make a correction to where it says state other, because that should be 10,000 annually for Caltrans.
Yeah, that's, I was asking, you mentioned that if that's an annual one, that should seem like that should be.
You had a claim for 4 years, so we had about $40,000 for maintenance. There are some specified projects that qualify for those funds, but they are available. And it's a pretty easy grab, so we're in process with that.
Mayor, I have a question.
Yeah.
Manny, did the CARES Act grant, the airport rescue grant, and the airport coronavirus response grant, 3022 and 9,000, did those get deposited in airport enterprise fund?
I'm unaware of those, so we'll have to take a look.
Those. Yeah. So that would be 52, that'd be 61,000.
But that, I was gonna just ask if that's the 61,000 that's here in the adopted budget. Okay.
I mean, I think under rental and buildings grounds, the 77,139 that was in the unaudited 2023-24, I come up with about 79,000 a year with those numbers. So, I mean, they're, and then, is the other sales, is that fuel?
Yeah, I believe so. Yeah.
That's it, about $1 a gallon of sales from what we plan for.
Question?
Question, real quickly, I want to go first. Question.
Okay. So I'm looking at the summary of working capital that's going to be in tomorrow night's.
Is this on the airport?
No,
Save the question for just a minute.
okay.
Okay, continue on with airport then.
All right.
So it just looks to me like the operating revenue of the airport is more than $90,000 to $100,000 a year.
Yeah.
At best, and, and we're 140 Well, and our expenses still stay at 206. That's, haven't changed any of those.
Well, actually, they will change now with moving.
A little bit of,
Yeah.
but you moved the total of, it looks to me like you moved from 0.95 FTE to 0.80. Based on what you gave me, so. Yeah,
So now the next step is whether or not we want to mix these increases and staff adjustments. I would probably ask the county.
I think
we went to what?
Mix the increases that were happening in staff adjustments that were remaining. So there were some increases that did occur as a part of the, just, and I think the initial run through. And instead of putting them in there, we should probably take those out as well.
I think they're the proverbial deck chairs.
Yeah.
So help me here with my basic math here. You say we're $700,000 in the red to start with. Are we?
But yeah, like I said, like we were saying earlier, this is a moving number. So we don't know exactly how much we are in until we do our approvals.
Understood. Which we should be close to, right?
Yeah, we are close, but yeah, actively working on.
But this year, the proposed budget for 25-26 shows the airport operating a $33,000 profit.
Yeah, I think that's very, yeah. And I think that's with the 100,000 coming in, 150,000 coming in, it should probably move back.
So how did last year's council deal with the 700,000? Because it didn't happen in 1 year.
So last year's council was, received a budget that had federal grants revenue of 61,000, 10,000 for, state, which I believe that's the Caltrans one. I was told that 120,000 was the amount that was going to be for airport rentals.
For last year's council.
Yeah,
So that was the overinflated number.
I think so.
I mean, it says the estimated annual for 24-25. Those are all blanks right there, just that match.
Yeah, I haven't seen anything from them.
So they assumed or, gathered that they were gonna get 61,000 in federal grant revenue, but they got zero.
Yeah,
And all the way down the line, even after they 10,000, but they got zero.
yeah.
Okay.
So my question is the $700,000 deficit did not appear in 24-25. Is that fair?
That's fair.
So it's just been accumulating for all these years. And now Rod's saying we need to take care of it right now. I mean, we
It's a
can't,
liability.
I get it's a liability.
I mean, you can leave it on the paper as a negative. It doesn't change that you have to make up that deficit.
I get it. And then didn't other councils leave it on the paper as a negative? Is that how they do
I
it?
don't never remember the airport enterprise fund being a negative, and I don't remember any staff being allocated to the.
No, but what it seems like is in the previous budget, they just, I'm not gonna say they made up, but they invented these numbers that says, oh, we're not in the negative, but they got no income from it.
I'd have to go look at the previous budget, but I don't remember any fund balance information other than major pay in the previous budget.
Well, it was not shown here. It's just that the budget showed that they were going to get it and they never did. So that's why it didn't show up to be negative.
Jamie, do you have a question?
Yeah, I'm just curious, so when you have your airport budget and is there something where it's like, we did this project, here, this money came out of here, I mean, is there like checks and balances? Because at some point you're gonna realize, we're spending money we don't have, let's just keep on doing it. So I mean, at some point you should have, this is how much money we have, we're doing projects out of this is our revenue, is there checks and balances within
So
this?
Jamie, we have that right, that's what we're doing right now. That's why it's so tense.
Long.
But in the past years,
They're not doing it?
You can't really.
it's hard to say what we're
Here
done.
was an assistant city manager that was running the airport, and she was really responsible for giving us.
Let's not throw anybody in.
I'm not sorry, I'm not meaning it. I'm just saying along the lines of this is where she was saying that we were gonna get it. I haven't seen it yet, but there could potentially be something coming down the pipeline that she had started, but she is not there.
But
Well, I think we just need to focus it on today in the airport enterprise fund.
I get it, Bruce, and
It
that's,
has $90,000 of income and it's got $206,000 of expense.
that's what, I was just asking about the 700,000. Can we legally just keep rolling and slowly
Well,
take care of it?
I think that your 150,000 that is an accounts
It's gonna
receivable.
probably, it's a receivable, so that could actually
should
go
be
back in and against
Fed
that.
against the 700,000.
I'm all for it. Sure.
But it shouldn't be here as an operating line item budget as income to the enterprise fund. It should. Those expenses have already happened, they've already been incurred, and that money should be reimbursing for what we already spent.
Yeah, so it should actually run under the estimated annual,
So,
so that way it's a
but you take
receiving.
the 150,000 out of the income and you can adjust it up a little bit with what Dolores told us about the income being maybe more, well, they've got it at 75 and 15. You can argue about whether it should be like that way or not, but it's still, you know, the 206 has been lowered by 1/10 of an FTE.
Okay.
That's the only thing that we've done to address the 90 versus 206. So do we want to approve an airport enterprise fund budget that is easily $100,000 out of bounds?
I believe in 17-18 budget, there was 0 allocations to the airport enterprise fund, FTEs.
Yeah.
Zero allocation budget for what?
0 allocations for the airport enterprise fund.
There's no salaries.
There's no salaries.
Yeah, because I
Instead of-
think the revenue was 100, 150, might have been more back then, 150. So like that was for maintenance, and there was a small contract for airport manager, like 20 grand.
And I think there was a couple of fires where we got some reimbursements.
Yeah.
Right, right.
That's
So I guess you're treating it like we're looking at it like the airport enterprise spent all this money. The airport
No.
enterprise did not spend all the money.
No.
The city spent the money and it didn't just come, there's no money there to spend, so it came out of the general fund. So that deficit should just easily transfer over to the general fund when you think about the ground that needs to be made up by the city. And I think when you try to break it down into the simple, like the city needs to be on the plus side because that's how the city operates. And that's how most the cities that I reviewed around us operate. That's how Lakeport operates, that's how Fort Bragg operates, that's how Cloverdale operates. Same size, 5 to 10 million in general fund reserves and expenses that are less than revenue. And right now, we can't even get to expenses that are less than revenue in the general fund. We can't even get there. We can't even get to salaries that are less than revenue. So, I mean, we're just talking at length about an impossible feat.
Not gonna balance out there.
It's just not gonna happen, and you're not gonna get to the plus side without really addressing.
Well, I mean, to Scott's point, I mean, why don't we just take all the FTEs out of the airport enterprise fund?
There's no reason to put them there because there's no.
There's no income.
Created a problem. That's why we have a problem, because other people have done that at much greater percentages.
So do I got my direction? Take it out.
I'm all for it. Take them out.
Well.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I think.
I mean, it's not gonna solve the problem, but at least we'll have an
Yeah, at least we
idea
know.
of what we're really looking at, so that we can find out what we really are in the hole in, so that we can make sure the general fund covers that.
Great.
So Jamie, just to follow up, the $700,000 was not from projects at all. This was a paper shuffle that
You're robbing Peter to pay Paul.
people did in the past, and we're trying to correct it.
Yeah.
So that's what it was.
So that's just false, that's just nonsense,
It's how about was, not is, was,
was nonsense.
yes.
So what I did here, there was the biggest chunk was the 500,000 that just came to fruition, that came out of the airport.
Yeah, so the 500,000 was misapplied. When it was put in.
And there's a lot of it right there.
When was that put in?
That was put in June. if I remember correctly.
Yeah, the salaries are probably about right there.
Yeah, but that's the biggest portion, because it was never that high.
Yeah.
One thing I'm not seeing here is a line item, and I'm not really clear about where it was in here, but we front load purchase of fuel. So working capital will be able to buy that fuel in order to then resell it. And I'm just seeing it in here as planned.
So it would be in as a line item if it's an inventory. So it would be landing in the balance sheet. not in there.
Thank you.
Be landing where?
in the balance sheet, because it's inventory.
That was a good catch. Okay, any more about the airport? We've all agreed that basically we're going to zero out the employees there.
And I just, don't you have a couple of your employees who actually supervise what's going on at the airport? I mean, you do. So, I mean, I can see taking out all of the city manager and assistant city manager. Don't zero out that nobody's paying any attention.
I've never been in there to begin with, so it's okay.
But we do, he logically should have some percentage in there, so should the maintenance worker who goes up there all the time, does the fuel. I
Yeah,
mean, there are legitimate,
but I think your point, it should be realistic. It should
It
be,
should be realistic.
and having zero would not be realistic. But
I know you can't afford it though. So I mean, you're saying they're gonna pay out of something that's going on.
it would just show
You're
on paper.
operating as an insolvent business. That's what you're doing. It shouldn't even be an enterprise fund. It should just be part of the general fund because it's not solvent. So, I mean, it's no longer an enterprise fund if it sustains itself. It's not self-sustaining, not an enterprise fund.
But, right, if we didn't charge employees out of it, would it be a solvent enterprise fund?
That's how it was operating. Okay.
Yeah.
Is that something the city wants to
It's not
control?
that way, we must blow the ground that fast, but we would get there pretty soon out.
Sooner. Yeah.
It's another step in the right direction, absolutely.
Do you have a question?
Well, it's related to the airport. So Matt's comment about, yes, there are some employees' time that,
Right.
it's accurate to charge that to the airport fund. In the vein of wanting to present an accurate picture, why not charge what should be, only what should be, and do a transfer in from the general fund? It doesn't matter, whether it's the costs are transferred to the general fund, but the benefit of doing it this way is you get a real picture of what's going on with the airport.
Well, we haven't had one for the last 4 years.
So,
Okay, so, and I appreciate the question.
okay,
Okay, so we continue on with zero, continue on?
Well, I mean, in the operating expenses and other expenses, those will continue to, those are expenses that are necessary to keep the lights on at the airport. And it looks to me like they total about $60,000.
I'm sorry, Mr. Berry, where you at?
I'm on page 118 in the operating and other expenses for the airport enterprise cities. And in the proposed budget, I'm using that, 46,000 and 14,000. It's about that's about 61. In the unaudited 23-24, those were 87, 88.5 really. So with $90,000 of revenue to that fund from hangar rentals and gas sales, it's a kind of a break-even gizmo. I think, it is accurate to say that there's some city time that goes into that deal up there. I'm not sure that, that level of transparency, for the problems that we have is particularly material, but I mean, I wouldn't argue that if you wanted to put 10% of somebody's time in that it isn't, that it isn't realistic.
So Rod, what are the limitations with the airport enterprise fund? I know that both wastewater, we have limitations, and sewage, we have limitations. Are there limitations of the airport enterprise fund of putting that money into the general fund?
I mean, you're talking with like potentially borrow from,
Not borrow,
like,
sweep it in.
I don't know exactly what have to happen to make it not.
Okay, so if there's not, so then I'm going to recommend, and I appreciate, because you do spend maintenance time up there. So, I'm,
More admin time, we've got one building maintenance worker, he goes up and he sweeps the runway, checks the lights. We have to sample the fuel regularly once a week to make sure that there's no water infiltration or issues with the fuel we're distributing. So there are some quality control and just, probably about 6 hours a week.
What's the other contract then?
Other contracts, I believe it's either the consulting,
Okay.
it's hard to line out specifically. I know we have an airport consultant that we use. So for developments or projects, they file everything with the FAA and they pursue the grants.
So my only word, sorry.
I'm just gonna ask along those lines that, so for our sweeping we do up there, that's part of those reimbursements we get from Caltrans to be sweeping the runway, that kind of stuff.
No, this is just in-house maintenance,
Okay.
just regular upkeep for safety and
Remains.
So 6 hours a week is around 0.15.
that's a rough estimate. You know, there's a couple times a year where I have to
So
send
one employee.
a crew up there for like mowing. When that's just a couple days here and there a year.
So what I kind of wanted to address the Chair's concern, question. Because I feel like sometimes like there is a different ideas about how to solve these issues, right? You could do it either way. You could just move everything to general fund and not keep track of the full-time equivalent, or you can do what the previous administration was apparently doing, just rating it up job by job. So if we're saying, okay, well, it's accurate to say that somebody spends 0.15 hours on there, that would be true, and that would be a level of transparency. But I feel like that issue confuses the larger issue, which is that it's the same money. And that's the issue. It's the same money, it comes out of the general fund anyway. And when we look at the general fund and we say, well, we balanced out the enterprise fund for the airport, but we have no money in the general fund. I'm hearing the city manager suggesting, correct me if I'm wrong, that we not do that, and then we just move all the full-time equivalents out there. Not because it's more accurate in terms of equipment work, but it's more accurate in terms of the money that we actually have to spend on the enterprise fund as a whole. But it's really just a professional difference. It's like, it's not like one's right, one's wrong, or they did it wrong, we're gonna do it right.
Well, that's not exactly true, because the airport makes a little bit of profit. And we can't just take that profit and put it in general fund. And so what we're saying is that little bit of profit is gonna be used to pay for 15% of one city employee, and that 15% will go into the general fund to pay for that employee.
It's valid on the way.
However you wanna look at it. It goes into the general, it's essentially paying for that. Like the employee's working there and the airport's paying 15% of that person's stipend. I'm not gonna argue whether or not that's accurate, that's fine. It doesn't change the deficit. Doesn't change what has happened in the past. And that's the biggest issue right now. Not whether or not 15% of one employee is accurate. Because you can also look at it, it's a city property, a city function that the city operates. And people are, as you said, it's the same money.
So the guy who's working cleanup is doing cleanup in this physical facility, now he's doing cleanup in the other physical, he's still getting paid, he's still getting cleanup. It's not really the difference of like whether he does it in that property or this property. But
well, once again, the general fund is supporting by paying for those operations if it's not budgeted in the year.
Well, if you can't afford it.
Right.
Right, that's the thing. But I would put it, I think, and part of the issue with the cautionary statement is that's part of the reason we're having this discussion and we're in this position. Because positions were pushed out of the general fund and the issue wasn't realized.
You got, the salaries and benefits is attuned to the 144,000 and it's charged to the airport enterprise fund.
Which far exceeds its revenue.
Which makes 90, and then you have 60 for operating expenses. But that doesn't include any maintenance repair that you have to do. That's why you try to build a reserve in case a hangar falls down, if you want to make it
Or some lights,
some payment or, yeah, that's the whole purpose. You have to want to keep that.
you have to have some deferred maintenance.
I wouldn't disagree with the whole full-time equivalent thing or 0.5. It's just that given where we're at now in the process and we need to be closer to the end than we do in the beginning, we could spend another 2 hours discussing just the airport fund and making sure every single person is every single, I don't know what that's really gonna be. That's why I feel like if we just zero it out, just like take all those FTEs and move them all out the general fund, it seems to address the issue that we're trying to deal with right now. Or else we're just gonna spend 3 hours talking about, well, this guy gets 1.5, don't forget about this guy. And that's all accurate, and we should look into that, but I feel like at this point of the budget process, months behind, I don't know whether that's something that's a fight with having.
I'm not gonna disagree, but if we do it with the airport fund, what's to stop us from saying we're gonna do it with wastewater? What's to stop us from doing it with freshwater? I mean, that's, where does it start? And I think it's legitimate to say that 15% of one city employee spends time up there. And it's not unreasonable to say that the airport enterprise fund will reimburse the general fund for 15% of that employee.
Can we just agree that let's just keep the 0.15 then, and then?
I'm good.
I'm
good with that.
But that's spending like every single.
I'm good with that.
Okay.
That's all I was asking.
That's good.
Sure, quick question?
Just one comment.
No, quick question?
Is it any different than taking special ed, which costs a school district hundreds of thousands? Oh, let's just move it all into the unrestricted money costs. Is that any different than what you're suggesting?
Yes, because specialized.
Don't you need a picture of the program?
I think we have a question for ourselves.
Okay.
So are you okay with 15% one employee? Are you okay with 15% one employee? Bruce?
Yeah, I gotta say, I'm not gonna argue.
Okay.
I mean, I.
Move on. 15% one employee. Check.
The.
Okay.
We haven't talked at all about the peculiar issues that we have at the airport that take a lot of time.
You mean,
Illegal.
yeah, I get it.
There's a fair amount of care and feeding.
All right, where do we go from here?
Is it. It's all three of our enterprise funds.
So Rod, I just can't understand this 700,000. I'm just trying to get to my life. The past councils have been rolling it over.
I don't think it doesn't show up in the, it doesn't. I looked at the 24-25 budget, it doesn't show a deficit of $500,000 in the enterprise fund. And then you go in the airport enterprise fund.
Well, it sounded like the money came out in June. When did it go in?
When we book them, sorry.
This misallocated.
Yeah, so I believe it was in June.
It went in June.
Went in June.
Of 25
Of 25.
and came out in July
No. We're just now updating.
today.
Yeah, we're in our period of availability where we're actually moving to all of our different accounts.
So I mean, conceivably, I mean, we saw a 371 on the handout we were given 2 weeks ago.
Randy, was this a reoccurring? Did it happen last year?
No.
But this is a one-time amount.
That I know. Yeah.
But that didn't make it minus 700, that just corrected the record.
Right.
Yeah.
Last week, that's all it did, it didn't make it magic, it was minus 700 before the 5, it was already there.
It was just
It wasn't
hiding it. It was just masking it. Yeah.
But it wasn't masking it until June, and that information wasn't in the 24-25 budget. So the other side of this is I'm gonna say that most of those $700,000 were not airport specific, and they didn't go up there and work on the runway or do anything like that, which makes them general fund expenses. It doesn't make them airport enterprise fund expenses because that's what was put in I don't even put in the budget, but that's just how everything was spent. That doesn't make it an eligible expense under the airport enterprise fund.
Yes.
So you can put it down your neck, so just a minute. Go ahead.
So in essence, and again, wearing my past council hat, I don't think if we just had your 700 in the hole, I don't think we ever got that. But I think that what I'm getting is that because of these allocated positions and we're losing track of where they're really in the general fund, but we're attributing it to the airport. And then all of a sudden now we're over there, but in essence, we're just digging a deeper hole in the general fund. And that's really where those expenses should have come from.
Right.
And so,
I agree.
Right.
and so as a council, when you're presented a budget and you're going, okay, where are those positions? Well, they're ultimately coming out of the general fund. And I guess I guess it's the shell game that becomes confusing for where it should be coming out of.
Right, and I'll go look at the 22 to 24 budget. I know that was presented as a balanced budget. Which I would assume to mean that the enterprise funds were, like, at least there was no negative in the airport enterprise fund. But ultimately, if it's scrutinized, because you continue to run a deficit in an enterprise fund, if it's scrutinized by a state agency or a federal agency, then they're gonna look at where those expenses should have been placed. And it's probably more than likely that the large majority, if not all of the $700,000 should not have been expensed to the airport investment. I would venture a guess to say minus the 150 that's in the AR, 144 that's in the AR, is probably the airport itself as an enterprise has not run a $700,000 deficit.
That answers my question.
Would it be a fair, I mean, we haven't audited 22, 23, 22, 21, 22.
23.
We should have an accurate airport enterprise fund balance in that audit statement.
Matt, do you have a question?
Yes, two questions, actually. One is the point Bruce is just making, is that what were the beginning balances in those audited reports in the past? And so we don't know what the beginning balance really is right now.
I asked that question.
And,
So what's
yeah,
your
I'm-
question?
yeah, and so I think that that's extremely important, that I don't know that the 700,000 is at all accurate right now. And what is the 500,000 that was received or was charged in June of this year? Where did that 500,000?
Oh, it was revenue. That was just put in as a negative into the budget, correct?
No, that was revenue that came in for wastewater facilities. It was a reconciliation of the property taxes. It was misapplied and it put into
Oh, I
Fund 50.
Oh.
And so it was caught during our sweep and we reconciled it and put it
Oh,
back
yeah,
working.
correct.
I thought there was something similar in the airport fund. Is that wrong? There's no other revenue that did not get applied to.
There could still be, because we're still working through it. So that's the thing. We're still closing our books and we're still reconciling.
I think you talked to our Dusty's here that said that there's like 60,000 and some.
Yeah,
60 something.
So I understand that because of the allocations of FTEs, the airport fund has been probably showing a negative
Yes.
annually. And then that has built up over time. I don't know that I trust the 700,000 number as what that is. And I think if you're correct in correcting that imbalance and trying to have the expenses that show up in an enterprise fund actually accurately reflect, and ideally, the revenue for that enterprise fund
so
should cover those.
Seems like it.
Financial statements for 22-23 show that the non-major enterprise, which is the airport,
Say that.
the non-major enterprise, which is the airport, it shows a deficit of 566,000. So it is actually showing up. It's showing up actually in the financials.
We audited 20,
And the audit 22-23,
23.
566,000.
It came in April of this year. Can I ask, so you bring up a good point, it's a question for the, and I think it's relevant, it's a little odd, but as we're trying to work through this, if since the fund balances aren't in the 24-25 budget, and I saw those, were they presented as a handout when you considered approving the 24-25 budget? Was that provided as a separate document?
I have the document at home, but I have not gone back and looked. I don't know.
Because ultimately, that's where you should have seen it. You should have seen, if that was in fact, should have been something close to that. Maybe not exactly because that's audited, but at the beginning. Well, actually, it's 2 months. Off by a year. So yeah, I'm off by a year, 22-23, so that'd be the beginning of 23-24, you were minus 566.
Yeah, I don't know.
In theory, 9 months from now, it will not be $700,000, it will be less. Because what we're trying to do is allow the enterprise fund to slowly correct itself. Instead of being used like a rich uncle that some people were taking money from. That's what it was being used as.
I think it was just recording expenses, general fund expenses under, it wasn't,
Tomato and tomato.
we're borrowing anything from the airport enterprise.
So we're not going to replenish it, we're going with income of 90 and fixed expenses at somewhere between 70 and 80. And putting 10% of anybody's time in there, there will be no recovery.
Yeah, break even.
If you're playing with,
All right.
you'll get zero recovery, that I can, in fact, yeah.
All right, so just making sure we're here for a special meeting to talk about the three enterprise funds. And so we've been briefed on to all three enterprise funds. Tomorrow night, we're going to cover the budget.
I'd like to go back to we had a little overview, finance director's overview. I think we need to go down back and talk about the wastewater budget, and we need to talk about this solar project. It's going to drain $3.7 million more of retained or fund balance
right.
out of it by between now and December 30th of this year. And then we're gonna take that cash, plus we're gonna take the cash flow from the rail trail, all drinking from the same pond. And how that looks at our bank balance come the end of the year. I don't think it looks too rosy. So, I mean, and then the bigger question is, do we have the fortitude to address the $2 million shortfall of revenue in the general fund?
Well, that's tomorrow night.
Oh, okay.
Well, that's what tomorrow night is.
Where do you want?
Bruce, this is a special meeting very specifically for the enterprise funds.
Okay. But, I mean, what's the council's thought? I mean, are you comfortable taking $3.7 million out of a fund that's got 4.2 in it?
My comfortable, no, and I certainly wish some decisions that were made last year were made. I mean, I wish we had never gone down the road of the solar project. We being the city as a whole. Because some administrators made a decision that we're going down this solar project for whatever reason. And the reimbursements are not gonna be anything what we were initially promised.
Well, I mean, I'm trying to find out about what those having some level of confidence in those. I mean, if we don't think there's 100% level of confidence that those are going to be reimbursed, then we have an invalid contract, because that contract is written with the explicit understanding that we're going to get the 30% plus another 10% for a low income community. And if those monies, then to me, we have a breach of contract. Maybe not of their making, but if it is, of the federal administration, in effect, we don't get that money. We've created an untenable situation for the wastewater enterprise fund.
So, and you asked for a copy of the contract.
I've got the contract.
And have you read it?
Yep. I mean, it has some verbiage in it that it's certainly written by the contractor. It wasn't written by the city. And, if anybody else that's read it, I think they would agree. I would hope that they would agree. Under that issue of NEAM 2, energy services contractor understands, acknowledges timely completion of the work is essential to customers obtaining certain financial benefits enabling it to enter into this contract. These benefits include entitlement to participation in need to program and cash incentives available to the city under the Inflation Reduction. Energy services contractor cannot be held responsible for, excuse me, as described in section 19. The work to be formed under this, there's the 25% down payment was made 30 days after they signed the contract, which was signed on June of 24. It's here somewhere. But like I say, if anybody can go on the internet and see that need to was discontinued on April 15th of 24.
Was discontinued.
Was discontinued and replaced by NEM 3 or NEM or, and this contract was signed on June 13th and June 19th of 21st.
Yeah, Davey's got something because we.
Just to clarify that, so the city did apply
I understand that.
and we got approved for the NEM 2.0 prior to the
Yeah,
contract.
and I've asked the contractor for the,
And we may have, we have the agreement. I'll email you the agreement.
okay, thank you.
And we did reach out before they passed the budget to the Ciderco regarding the federal tax grant. And so, and it's obviously up before the budget passed, but the caveat was if you were committed 5% to your project and you're gonna finish your project prior to 2028, you were still eligible for your federal tax credit. So the April 26th date that you referenced is actually our requirement to tie in for NEM 2.0 for PG&E. So in order to get NEM 2.0, we have to be done for PG&E by April 2026. So there's two dates in there. The 2026 is PG&E's requirement, 2028 is the federal requirement. I did email the company to see if they can forward their analysis of the federal tax credit.
Isn't there an unanswered question as to actually how much money PG&E is going to pay us?
I don't believe so. It's not NEM 2.0 is the standard. It's the NEM 2.0 agreement is the standard for your buying. So the switch from NEM 2.0 to 3.0 basically dropped time of use. So you're getting about 25% of your dollar on NEM 3.0 versus NEM 2.0.
So wasn't there going to be from PG&E a check reimbursement for to put a solar system in?
No,
No.
It's lower rates. We locked into a lower rate.
Just lower.
And it was about a 25% conservatively savings over the years from the NEM 2.0 to 3.0.
So it's a long-term savings.
It's a long-term savings that we're
We're
gonna see
locked in at
in
this
lower
rate.
energy bills.
It factored into a 12-year payout. We spend almost $500,000 a year on solar at the wastewater system.
And one of the things about that contract, yes, we signed their contract, unfortunately. That was a decision made by, city hired, a solar lawyer, I don't remember who it was, who looked over it. Typically, we do not sign other people's contracts, and the decision was made to sign that contract. And part of it was that there was a 25% upfront cost. Typically, on contracts, you don't exceed 10%, but this is the way this company writes them. We even contacted Fort Bragg, who's a little bit ahead of us on these projects, and they're in the exact same position. They did the same thing, signed to the side code, we're 25% down. It was not ideal. I think Davey and I both,
This is the same contract the lawyers told us that
Yeah.
would be paid for, and it turned out it was not going to be.
our city lawyer, the three sets of attorneys looked over this and everything. It's still, I don't think it was ideal for us to sign someone else's contract.
one of the concerning things I read in here is that they retain right to the intellectual property.
Yeah, I don't know what that would pertain to though.
Well, to me, it pertains to that you have so many solar powered panels that are wired in a certain configuration. And you're using these inverters and this switch gear, that's the intellectual property, the design of the project. And so if somebody comes along and walks around out there and jots down and says, well, I'll guarantee you that the hardware for this project is less than 50% of the $4.7 million. I would be surprised if their materials cost is probably 1.5 to 1.8 range, but that make no matter.
Right.
The point is that if I go down there and say, well, shoot, Willits Redwoods would like to have a solar project, city just put one in, I'll just go copy that. Here, there's an agreement that, in the event a customer breaches this agreement with respect to use of intellectual property, customer agrees to pay energy services contractors $1,000 per calendar day as liquidated damages for the period of 3 years following the date of breach.
I just don't see that we're gonna be getting into anything that's gonna apply to that situation.
I'm just saying, if you
Yeah.
wanna know what's in the contract
Yeah.
and how it's written,
Yeah,
that's how
not
it's.
on our side.
And some of that might be just standard boilerplate, I'd ask.
So
for.
what are our options? On the solar, what options do we have?
Well, I'm not talking about the options. Let's just do the cash flow of it. You know, the, clearly, the project is gonna be a complete price of it, assuming it stays, you know, and I guess people understand, I didn't understand, this is for solar panels that are on this building, some of which I guess are already here.
It was in addition to some of the ones that were here.
And the other, solar panels over the parking lot at the ball fields.
Yes.
I thought it was the spray field or some 40 out there, you know, that we weren't.
No, they had to put them where they could get the best.
No, it wasn't available to do it at the spray fields down there and stuff because it's a wetland in there. And so they have to be moved to somewhere where it could be applied.
But I think what we talked about at the time was that the benefit of the savings, even though hypothetically they're here or somewhere else, would have to be applied to the enterprise.
Well, you can aggregate, you can have two locations and you can put them to one. You can aggregate a solar project, two solar projects to one, no more than two to one utility bill. But, so I mean, that, is, you know, assuming that these go without any of their change orders, and I mean, historically, the city
I get it.
hasn't seemed to do well in the change order business. And, I'm just don't know how, it's where we're at.
Well, 3 weeks ago, there was a discussion that instead of paying this lump sum, we might go for a loan. But at least one bank told us, no thanks, we don't want to loan money to the city of Willits.
Yeah.
Did that happen to the other bank?
The other bank actually,
Savings bank.
yeah, the conversation with Savings Bank, they wanted to be able to know who was actually gonna be signing the check or signing the agreement.
Okay.
So,
So is that still a possibility?
yeah, it's still a possibility. So I
So
said
we
that
will not have to lump sum this money out.
we were thinking about, pulling about 1.8 for it.
Sacrifice, what's the?
So what happens is if you borrow money to pay the loan, your 30% and your 10% rural bonus get, I believe it's 5%, and it's 5% individually, so 5% off the 30% and 5% off the 10. So you end up with like 37% back. I did the math, I know that you were off
I
back.
just.
So you get a little knockoff on your tax credit, but you also get the benefit of cash flow relief.
Right, and that's what we need right now. We need cash flow relief. So what do we as a council suggest on this? That we move forward with some kind of loan? I mean, staff would love for us to give them a direction so they could just do it.
How long before we get an answer on the loan?
About the 10.
So this is something we can talk about tomorrow night? Well, I mean, if we don't have the answer, Bruce, from
No, I mean.
you're on the same thing, we're good.
Yeah, it just kind of puts me in a tight.
Give us an answer.
It's all.
He's gonna have to excuse himself.
I have to. That's the whole budget.
Just touching the loan decision.
Yeah.
So maybe we can add something or like have some direction to have Rob sign off on the application.
Well, I think at this point, we're just gonna move forward with what you're doing right now.
Yeah.
See what happens.
Because if we come back and we find out the information and it's too high, sacrifice change it for me, that's
Yeah.
gonna change calculus.
Yeah, that just gets them to move forward. It's just signing off on the application and actually roll.
I'd be in favor of directing staff to continue to move forward,
Okay.
because we haven't made a final decision yet,
There we go.
till we know. Right?
And just, yeah, so sign an application doesn't mean we're taking them along.
Exactly.
Okay, so, is that good, right? You okay with signing it?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, so where are we tonight?
Well, that was my big concern on the wastewater fund is this project, because it's significant. I mean, I think we should have, God, if we could ever get a number that stays the same 2 days in a row, I would feel that I could have some basis of making a decision, but I think a cash flow projection on that project. I mean, I guess it's pretty short term. I mean, they probably are they're moving up to, they should,
On which project?
the solar project. Are they?
They're getting ready, they're getting their permit, when does the issue?
So they're under their fourth round of plan review. So as soon as they clarify a structural, design issue, we'd be obligated to issue a permit. I would assume that would be late this week, early next week. They will probably break ground 2-3 weeks following the permit. And they have planned to be done sometime in January. So that would get you theoretically through your first round of sewer payments from your tax bill. And then in time to.
So what are the progress payment? What is the
So
payment schedule?
It's gonna be hard and fast because we're in, be September through January. There'll be a parabola. I did request that they send us an estimated billings for what their progress. So as soon as we get that, I'll forward that to Manny and Rod. Just so we have an idea of what the cash looks like, but when they first start, you can go 30 days prior to after they start for the first bill. But once these go really quick, they're very simple to install. So you're looking at 4 or 5 months.
And then let me clarify something that you said you were concerned about change orders. I think David's gonna agree. This project has been pretty tightly controlled in terms of scope of work. We don't anticipate any problems or unexpected changes and everything. We've got it pretty well laid out. I don't expect to have any change orders on it, so.
Because this is a design build project where they're designing it, they're building it, they're responsible for the design. So typically we have contractors, designers, and you have 3 people involved, right? The owner. There's disagreement, but they're in charge of the design, so and this is a very, very simple project. We just did one hospital, so I don't anticipate.
Is the project
Problem.
Is the project all out there now? Is it?
This is complete. That's the next phase.
So this is on and running. What happened here was we have, when we did the NEM 2.0 application for here, they did the Dream Solar up here. And we had existing solar, we had a grant from Cal OES for a partial solar. And then what we applied for to maintain NEM 3.0, we had to put an extra 6 kilowatts up there to meet that extra, what we applied for. We applied back in 22, 21, 22 for the NEM 2.0. So we just added 6 kilowatts up here, and it is on in our meter is reading 0. So we do have some benefit there.
So maybe I'm just worried about something I shouldn't be worried about, but putting a solar panel near a ball field in a parking lot seems to me like it could be damaged in a heartbeat. Do they own it? So they correct it?
We own it.
Well, once we have a ball player that gets it that far, we're gonna go there, get his MLB money and the building back.
Okay,
No, it's a ways away. They're 13 feet in the air.
so it's like the hospital. That's a good example.
I mean, yeah, it's just like the hospitals.
All right,
We don't buy home run derby.
They're tempered, they're very durable.
let's not do
In
that.
high school.
Did you get them out there?
You play home run derby when you're in high school, you go a little bit.
All right.
If you're getting cars, you can possibly like that.
So this is possible action, this is discussion and possible action. On the three enterprise funds that we've talked about today.
The payments on that are due upon receipt of
Those days.
certain, every 30 days.
No, 30 days after receiving, I believe. Or did we change it to 4 years? Fall. I think it's like the contract.
It's in 30, it's in
Okay.
here, it says 30 days.
Okay.
of Invoice, but
Yeah.
There has been one change order.
So it's in dispute, but yes, we disagree with the, who's responsible for the tie-in. And that's something we talked to Jim about, and basically we agreed to disagree to move the project forward, but so in the tie-in cost from PG&E's there, I put their pole in and PG&E's doing the work to the switchgear. PG&E charges a fee for that. We disagree that fee is supposed to be borne by the city. Our contention is it's supposed to be borne by Silerco.
As per the contract, we believe it should have been included in the contract.
But
That was part of the problem.
And we didn't plan a change order for it.
Yeah.
Well, there was the, materials fee, the price.
So there's a potential, there is just a notice of potential. There's a clause in there, it should basically, the tariffs potentially had a 5% increase on the steel canopy. And that was just a notice that their vendor was potentially gonna charge us. We haven't had any further comments on it. But that's a standard clause, and that one's actually in the majority of contracts. Whereas with tariffs, something's out of their control.
Force majeure, yeah, they have.
Force majeure, correct.
I just don't like to commit to no change orders.
I agree. There is never, that's not, I'm just saying this one's,
Not necessarily.
it's a lower probability.
do we have a cost on that if we don't prevail?
So I think the total was 230.
2/3, yeah, put it on there.
$230,000
for the power pole.
It's a
For the
power
top.
trenching, yeah.
Transformer.
They charge you they charge you all the gear to your meter, and then the rest of it's ours.
All right, so
Is there a 10% retention,
5%.
5%?
No, I can't do more than 5. State change that.
So tomorrow night, I'm assuming we're probably gonna go to midnight, talking about general fund budget. And, we don't have to make a decision on this tonight because the enterprise funds are part of our budget. If somebody wants to say, approve this portion of the budget as presented or as changed, if there have been some changes, we'll do it. Otherwise, we'll wait till tomorrow night and do the whole bailiwick at one time.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
I don't think it's possible for us to have everything changed and put into a complete budget without any of the issues we're talking about, things that need to be corrected by tomorrow.
So do we need to have another special budget meeting? I mean, that we're kind of under the gun.
What needs, the only thing that has to happen by September 1st is the table. I don't even think it has to be a resolution.
Yeah,
The
it's just-
table of, that shows the, expected revenue, expected expenditures, the summary of working capital has to be sent to the board by September 1st.
Okay.
That's what has, the county's in the same boat. Dolores called and talked to the county. Legally, that's what's required by September.
I don't want to spend 12 months of this fiscal year having budget being the top item of every month. Any idea when we could get it done?
It would be done, we're shooting for the second meeting in September.
So the first meeting, having the preliminary,
If we can have it done by the first meeting, that would be ideal. I just want to make sure that I agree, it doesn't need to be extended out.
so
But I don't want to have the issue that we're talking about today with numbers floating around, the numbers going to be
solid.
I get it, and so tomorrow night doesn't need to be an active utility if we don't have the numbers. Where's your recommendation on? I would love to take care of a good portion of the budget tomorrow night, but if we don't have the right numbers, I don't know if we can.
But I think we can have a discussion and give more further direction, because at this point, it seems like it's a moving target.
Well, we're gonna have to talk about personnel.
Yeah, I think this, that summary working capital needs to be updated.
Okay.
Consistent, and we need to get accurate numbers for. And Manny, that's gonna be up to you, what can you provide? Cause it needs to be the entirety. That's been a missing piece. I don't know, I went through the 22 to 24 budget. It's it shows 22 through 24, by the way, shows 0.15 employees allocated to the airport investment. Not.
Okay, so do we have to have a public hearing to pass a budget?
We haven't passed that number.
I think we do.
And that should,
Yeah,
Should have
I
one.
don't think it's a 30-day notice. I think
Okay.
it's, there's some special notice.
Okay.
So while he's looking up, Sherry, question?
I don't think
Is
we,
there time to make any public comment?
We're at the very end, we're going to.
Are we almost at the
We're
end?
almost at the end.
Okay.
We're within 5 minutes of the end.
Okay, so I don't know, how much days do we have to make public hearing? We've got to post it properly. So second time in September.
I don't recall ever
I thought,
posting it before.
I don't recall it being more than just a standard.
Okay.
Because that's technical.
All right, anything more from the council? Would like to open up the public comment, Sherry.
Can I speak from here?
You are, because we're microphones there, so just speak loud, yes.
Okay, just two things. One, what was very concerning to me today was that the working capital sheet that's gonna be presented at tomorrow's meeting, the 7/1/25, beginning of this year, working capital last Wednesday was 8.3 million. Today, it was 11.9 million, an increase of 43%, or 3.6 million. That's a concern. I'm not this is not a discussion,
Keep going.
just a comment.
Okay.
The other comment I have is in terms of a budget, is whether or not to consider trying to create, I know it's 1 year is hard enough. We're trying to create a 3-year budget. And specifically for the first year, determine what the cost savings goal is. What's the dollar amount that's being tried to be saved? Create a list that supports that. Here are the cuts we're looking at, and here's the associated cost savings for each of those cuts, and total them up. And are we there with our cost savings goal? And I know it's different for each year, because for this year, for example, we've got a $2 million transfer from Measure K. That's not available next year. So how does it change going forward the following year? What's the cost savings goal? What are the cuts to be made to reach that goal? But always determine that cost savings goal. That's a number that is, to me, I don't know how you do the budget without that number. What are we trying to get to?
Okay.
So that's the number.
Anybody else, public comment? The packets that you have